You know that feeling when you wake up tired, even after a full night's sleep, when you push through your day running on empty, wondering where your energy went? Here's something most people don't know, that fatigue may actually be happening inside your cells. That's why I've been using anti-factor lipids powder from Nutritional Therapeutics for years. I don't go a day without it. It's based on over 20 years of research and a patented process called membrane lipid replacement, which actually repairs the damaged components of your cell membranes, restoring your cell's ability to produce energy the way they did when you were younger. Clinical studies show anti-factor can reduce fatigue by up to 40%. Just 1 or 2 scoops a day. Mix it in a smoothie like I do, sprinkle it on food, and you're giving your body the science of youthful energy. Anti-Factor Lipids Powder comes in 2 convenient sizes. For more information and to order, just call 800-982-9158, 800-982-9158, or go to antifactor.com. That's antifactor.com for Anti-Factor Lipids Powder.
Welcome to Intelligent Medicine, America's foremost program on health, medicine, and nutrition, featuring the latest on both conventional and alternative therapies. Now, here's Dr. Ronald Hoffman.
Welcome to Intelligent Medicine. I'm your host, Dr. Ronald Hoffman. Intelligent Medicine is a weekend program. It is also heard as a podcast later in the week, wherein we discuss the best of high-tech medicine, the best of natural therapies. We call that Intelligent Medicine, an all-of-the-above approach. 877-726-8255 is our number. And if you call 877-726-8255, not just during the program, but 24/7, 365 throughout the week, you will be prompted to record a question. And we will take some of those recorded questions during today's broadcast. They are good conversation starters about some important issues in health and medicine. All right, the big story this week is the great avocado oil bust. And I'm a big fan of avocados. I eat at least a half or a whole avocado every day. Avocados are rich in vitamins. They're rich in fiber. They have beneficial oils. And they become, olive oil has become kind of a premium ingredient that is often included in salad dressings and chips. And there's a whole profusion of these products. For example, you've got classic mayo made with 100% pure avocado oil, and tortilla chips made with avocado oil, and kettle chips made with avocado oil, even tortilla chips made with avocado oil. It's a premium ingredient. And a lot of people are wary these days of, some of those poor quality oils, soy oil and cotton oil, the so-called seed oils, which are thought to be pro-inflammatory, high in omega-6 and low in omega-3. And so avocado oil has become kind of a premium ingredient included in a lot of products that you pay a premium for. And I have done that. I have succumbed to the allure of avocado oil as an alternative to canola oil or soy oil or, any of the kind of poor quality industrial processed oils. But there are some concerns about that, and they have been highlighted in an article in NPR with the headline, "Is that food really made with 100% avocado oil?" Likely not. And it's all based on a study that was performed at University of California, Davis, which is a big ag school and food school. They have a very, very robust program in agriculture and looking at food ingredients over there at UC Davis. And they did a big survey about some of these products, and they compared chips and dressings and mayo, a variety of products made either with avocado oil, or so it's claimed, versus olive oil. And what ended up happening, to the dismay of consumers like me, who we were in the fool's paradise, and now I think I'm being bilked. 48 out of 54 avocado oil labeled products were inconsistent with authentic compositional ranges. By contrast, only 1 of 20 olive oil labeled products were inconsistent. And so they did this very complicated analysis, page after page of detailed analysis based on highly sophisticated studies looking at the composition of the oils present in these chips and in these mayos and in these dressings. And here's how it broke down. When it came to chips, the chips that boasted avocado oil content, only 2 out of 28, just 7%, were consistent. 93% were inconsistent with whatever the profile would be, the chemical profile for the presence of avocado oil. By contrast, 90% of chips that were said to be olive oil chips were consistent. Only 1 out of 10 failed the test. When it came to dressings, even worse. 12 out of 12 of the dressings that purported to contain 100% pure avocado oil, and many of them do, they say 100% pure avocado oil, 0% were consistent, 12 out of 12 were inconsistent. When it came to olive oil, well, they were all truthfully labeled, 6 out of 6, 100%. When it came to mayonnaise, and I got to say, I go for mayonnaise. I like to slather mayonnaise on my sandwiches. I make a pretty mean BLT. When it came to avocado oil as an ingredient in mayonnaise, only 29% were consistent. 4 out of 14, 10 out of 14 failed the test. When it came to olive oil, again, good results for olive oil. When they say olive oil is in it, olive oil is in it 100% of the time. So the concern is, and I'm actually looking at some of the products, and they name names here about some of the products, and I see some of my favorite products here. Primal Kitchen, which has a good reputation. You get it in health food stores and premium groceries. Primal Kitchen. Italian dressing and marinade made with avocado oil didn't pass the test. Chosen Foods, they make mayo, they make dressings, didn't make the cut. Sir Kensington's avocado oil mayonnaise, no, also did not make the cut. And so some of these top brands, you could find listings of these that are tagged to the NPR article. And the concern is that 89% of avocado oil labeled products exhibited patterns inconsistent with authentic avocado oil. The suggestion is that they may have been diluted with other ingredients, or even worse, there may not have been any avocado oil at all. It is a premium and pricey oil, as you can tell when you go to buy avocados. Billions and billions and billions of avocados are sold each year in the United States. But at least when you get an avocado, it's something you can look at and hold in your hand. It's real. But when it comes to avocado oil, it may be a phantom ingredient in a product that is labeled as having avocado oil. So this is a big nutritional story this week. The avocado oil product that you're buying, I mean, it doesn't apply to, you can buy avocado oil in a bottle, and that's likely to not be ersatz or phony avocado oil. But when they put avocado oil in a product as an ingredient, that's where you're going to get shortchanged. According to the study, 48 out of 54 avocado oil labeled products had little or no real avocado oil in them, according to the study out of UC Davis. 877-726-8255 is our number. I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman, and this is Intelligent Medicine.
You know that feeling when everything just clicks? Your mind is sharp, your mood is steady, your body feels like it's firing on all cylinders. That's not luck, that's what your body is capable of every single day. Now, I've looked into a lot of fish oil supplements, and honestly, most of them are mystery-sourced, over-processed, blasted with heat, and packed with synthetic add-ins. But this one is different. Omega-3 Rejuvenate from Big Bold Health starts with wild Alaskan salmon and cod, sustainably caught from some of the cleanest waters on the planet, and then it's processed at low temperatures to preserve what actually matters. We're talking about real omega-3s, naturally occurring vitamins A and D, and pro-resolving mediators, or PRMs, that help your body balance its own immune response. What does that mean for you? Clearer thinking, more stable mood, and real nature-based support for your heart and immune system. No shortcuts, no synthetic nonsense. And it was developed by Dr. Jeffrey Bland, a true pioneer in the world of complementary health. If you want to feel the difference, go to bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman. That's bigboldhealth.com/Hoffman and use code Hoffman for 20% off site-wide. Once you feel it, you'll know. There's a crucial molecule in your body that helps control everything. Your circulation, your energy, your stamina, your heart, even your sharpness of mind. It's called nitric oxide. But after age 40, your body makes less and less of it. Less blood flow, less stamina, less of you. But now there's N101, the nitric oxide lozenge developed by Dr. Nathan Bryan, the world's leading nitric oxide researcher backed by Nobel Prize-winning science. N101 is designed to naturally restore your body's nitric oxide levels. Just do what I do and let one dissolve in your mouth twice a day. I especially make sure to take it before workouts. N101 goes to work in minutes, releasing nitric oxide directly into your bloodstream, supporting healthy circulation, boosting oxygen delivery to your muscles and brain, helping you feel the way you're supposed to feel. More energy, better blood flow, sharper focus. Day after day. N101, it's the science of you working better. Visit HoffmanNO.com. That's HoffmanNO.com and use coupon code Hoffman10 for 10% off N101.
drhoffman.com, your portal for cutting-edge information on health and nutrition.
Welcome back to Intelligent Medicine. Dr. Ronald Hoffman here. 877-726-8255 is our number. And that's the way you get through to Intelligent Medicine. You can call us. You can call during the program, as we mentioned the number, but you can call anytime you like. Jot that number down. You can participate in the program. Let's hear one of those calls.
Hi, doctor. I have a question about cholesterol. Recently I was at my doctor, and my total cholesterol through CBC was 229. HDL is 90, LDL 129, and triglycerides 52. My doctor said the LDL is a little high and trying to get it down with diet. If that doesn't work, I have to go back in September for an additional blood test. If it's still the same, he's talking about putting me on a statin. I was wondering if you think what your opinion would be. Should I ask him if I should have a CBC heart scan to check for a coronary calcification in the coronary arteries? If there's no calcification or minimal calcification, maybe there's no need to be on a statin. Anyway, just like to know if there's any supplements I could recommend to the doctor that I could take in lieu of a statin. Anyway, thank you very much for your opinion. I appreciate that.
Okay, so this is a question. This is just a very, very common query, is that folks who have a little bit high cholesterol are often urged to go on a statin drug to lower that cholesterol. And the question is it going to make a difference for them? And so you have kind of an interesting profile. You have a profile that's kind of similar to mine. And, you sound like a relatively healthy young individual, although, voices can sometimes be deceptive. Your cholesterol is a little high at 229, but you also have a resoundingly high HDL cholesterol, and that's generally thought to be protective, but not always. It's actually been discovered that people who have super high HDL, like over 100, sometimes have somewhat increased heart risk. So it may or may not be protective. And then the big number that they fixate on is your LDL cholesterol. And it's thought for people who have minimal risk. In other words, there's no evidence that they have any kind of cofactor that might predispose them to cardiovascular disease, like obesity, hypertension, diabetes, or a very strong family history of cardiovascular disease, or having had in the past themselves a bout of some heart-related problem, that you ought to get it under 130. Well, you're barely under 130. So you're a little borderline. For people who have higher cardiovascular risk, they want it even lower, LDL under 100, even LDL under 70 for people who have very high risk for cardiovascular disease. And they now have drugs, not just statins, but PCSK9 inhibitor drugs that now are injectable, but soon will be available in oral forms that just knock the tar out of your cholesterol. So they got a lot of tools to get your cholesterol down. When it comes to a decision to go on a statin, it depends on several factors. And one of the tiebreakers is this test called a CAC, a coronary artery calcium scan, which is done with a CT scanner, but don't worry, there's not a lot of radiation. In fact, it's about 1/10 the radiation from one of those units than from an ordinary CT scan. And they just look at the calcium in your coronary arteries. And the concern is that if you're, say, 80 and you have a little bit of a score, that's not as consequential as if you're 35 and you have the beginnings of calcification, because you had a lot more decades of life during which plaque can accumulate in your coronary arteries. And so a piece of information that I'd like to know, and I can't query you because you're not live on this call, is how old are you, right? And if you're young and your coronary artery calcium score is, say, significant double digits or even over 100, I'd say, you might benefit from a statin. But I had that test done at 65, and in spite of my slightly high cholesterol, I had a 0 score. And that's a great predictor that you're likely to be free of cardiac disease, even though at 65 I would hope that I'd have another possibly up to 3 decades or more of life ahead of me in which to accumulate plaque. And so this has been a controversial thing, because sometimes they say, well, even if you have a 0 score, you might have some soft plaque, so a lot of doctors have discouraged this. And then it's another test and another expense to Medicare and to insurance companies, and they've kind of pushed back against the test. This came out just this month. U.S. guidelines endorse CAC scoring for risk stratification. And what they found is there was a dramatic difference between people who had positive scores on that versus those with 0, and therefore a 0 or low score is a good way of predicting whether you'll benefit from statins. And the analogy I give is that, it's great to wear seatbelts when you're driving and, you're moving in traffic. But if you're sitting in your car in your garage and maybe you decide you want to clean off your dashboard, organize things in your glove compartment, you don't have to put your seatbelts on because your car's not moving. You're at very low risk. The same thing is if you have a 0 coronary calcium score and you go on a statin drug, what benefit is it going to confer to you? So in terms of natural things, look, I'm not in favor of red yeast rice, because if you need a statin, you should take a statin. That's kind of a natural botanical statin. But other things help to prevent cardiovascular disease. Things like grapeseed extract, pycnogenol, olive leaf extract, fish oil, Kyolic aged garlic extract. These are among the things that you can use, not so much to lower cholesterol. They might lower cholesterol a little bit, but they actually protect your blood vessels from atherosclerosis. Don't forget vitamin D and vitamin K. They're part of the equation for cardiovascular protection. And, get that scan. Find out what's going on. And call us back with the additional information. I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman. 877-726-8255 is our number for Intelligent Medicine.
Has your digestive health been striking out due to poor food choices, medications, stress, and other lifestyle issues? This season, hit a home run for your digestive health with Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics. Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics is a live probiotic encapsulated in small, easy-to-swallow capsules that delivers Dr. Ohhira's signature blend of pre, pro, and postbiotics. Dr. Ohhira's award-winning formula contains a prebiotic blend of fruits and vegetables, which are naturally fermented with 13 strains of live probiotic bacteria for a minimum of 3 years. The result? Dr. Ohhira's game-changing postbiotic metabolites, which are key to supporting long-term digestive, immune, and cognitive function. Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics, an all-star formulation and the best probiotic on the market today for overall digestive health and wellness. Dr. Ohhira's Probiotics, available at Sprouts, Natural Grocers, and other natural health retailers nationwide.
What if one supplement could make your entire immune system smarter, not stronger, in an aggressive way, smarter? That's exactly what BWH 85 beta-glucan from BWH Labs does. It works with your immune system, helping it recognize threats, respond effectively, and protect you the way nature intended. BWH Labs has spent over 25 years perfecting the purest, most biologically active beta-glucan on the market, an 85% pure formula that's been tested against 200 competitors and named the most effective immune modulator in peer-reviewed research. The science speaks for itself. Just one ingredient, one focus. Unmatched results. Doctors and integrative health practitioners trust BWH 85 beta-glucan, and so do I. It's available in 100 milligrams for daily support or 500 milligrams for maximum immune defense. It's only available through health practitioners, but as an intelligent medicine listener, it's available to you through my full script dispensary. Just go to drhoffman.com/BWH for more information and to order. That's drhoffman.com/BWH, because a smarter immune system starts with one smart choice.
Subscribe to the Intelligent Medicine Podcast, updated several times weekly. Go to drhoffman.com.
Welcome back to Intelligent Medicine. Dr. Ronald Hoffman here, taking calls. 877-726-8255 is the way to get through to us here on Intelligent Medicine. We have a question about blood pressure and a popular supplement. Let's hear it.
Hi, Dr. Hoffman. I've been listening for decades. Thank you so much for all you do. I've been taking aged garlic extract, but there's a difference between what you recommend and what Kyolic recommends. I was taking the 2400 as you recommend, but then my blood pressure started going into the low 130s. And I do take Natto, but I can go for 3 days without any hydrochlorothiazide, just taking Natto. But then on the fourth day, it'll go up to the low 130s. So I'm wondering, when I called Kyolic, they told me to take the blood pressure aged garlic extract. And I'm wondering if you think the same thing, or should I stick with the blood pressure and not with the 2400, I think you called it cardiovascular. Thank you so much.
Okay, so yeah, there's a profusion of products if you go to kyolic.com. And we've talked about the blood pressure benefits of aged garlic extract, and this is based on several studies, but one in particular from 2019. Aged garlic extract lowers blood pressure in hypertensive subjects, improves arterial stiffness. It is a review and meta-analysis. And so what they found is that there was, on average, a reduction of 8 points in systolic blood pressure in 8 trials that comprised several hundred subjects. Diastolic blood pressure went down by 5.5 points, which is comparable to the effects of many medications. And so, but the dose used in that study was 2,400 milligrams. Now, I wouldn't worry that your blood pressure is going down too much, that this is like overdosing on medication, like some kind of medication that would make your blood pressure plummet. I guess, when you talk to somebody, call in and it's a consumer hotline and they say, well, we have a hypertension product, but the hypertension product, keep in mind, delivers less of the active ingredient, which is aged garlic extract. It has some other synergistic ingredients, I don't know, maybe some magnesium and other things that are also good. But if you want really the business end of aged garlic extract's blood pressure lowering effects, please take the cardiovascular formula, where if you take, I think it's 600 milligrams, if you take 4 a day, you're going to get the 2,400 milligram effect. Otherwise, with the hypertension thing, to get 2,400 milligrams, you might have to take as many as 8 pills a day. And that's a lot of pills to take. And you're on the right track for controlling your blood pressure naturally. Plus, there are additional benefits because you'll get some arterial protective, anti-inflammatory effects. You get some nitric oxide benefits from the aged garlic extract, as well as effects on homocysteine, which may have some protective effects against stroke. And it's a great product, and I recommend it very highly to support treatment of high blood pressure. And you got to play around sometimes with using that with your medication, because it may lower your blood pressure a little bit. That'll enable you to taper your medication. If you need help, do so with the help of your health professional. And monitor your blood pressure frequently and see how different dosages affect your blood pressure. 877-726-8255 is our number. I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman. And when we return, we're going to be talking about immunity. So stay with us.
Magnesium is crucial for over 300 processes in your body, from energy production and muscle recovery to sleep quality and stress response. Yet most Americans don't get enough. In fact, in a peer-reviewed clinical trial published in the Journal of the American College of Nutrition, more than 75% of participants showed suboptimal magnesium levels before the study even began. Those who took Jigsaw Mag SRT, a time-release magnesium malate tablet, saw magnesium rise 30% over 90 days, and deficiency symptoms dropped by 63%. Remarkable results backed by real science. And for sleep and recovery, Jigsaw Mag Soothes delivers. In a 4-week clinical trial tracked with Oura Ring data, participants saw a 17% improvement in sleep quality, felt 34% less stressed, and rated their satisfaction 85 out of 100. 82% said they'd buy it again. 2 supplements, 2 clinical trials, 1 company that does the research. Jigsaw Health. Mag SRT for daily magnesium replenishment. Mag Soothe for calm, restorative sleep. To order, go to jigsawhealth.com. That's jigsawhealth.com. Use coupon code Hoffman15 for 15% off your order. That's jigsawhealth.com, code Hoffman15.
Kids don't just bring home homework, they bring home germs. And those germs don't just stay with them, they spread to the whole household. That's why Clear Nasal Spray was created by a practicing physician to give parents and grandparents peace of mind. You may not think about it, but your nose is filtering out a semi-truck full of air every single day. Clear isn't just another spray. It creates an additional layer of protection in your nose that blocks bacteria and viruses before they can even take hold. Yes, even that virus. Supporting your body's defenses right where germs first try to enter. Clear is a hygiene product recommended for daily use, drug-free, non-drowsy, and safe for all ages. Just a quick spray in the morning and evening helps you cleanse your nose. Don't just hope for protection, create it. Get Clear Nasal Spray, your daily defense. Clear Nasal Spray is available at retailers nationwide and online. Check out Xlear.com for our special offers. That's Xlear.com.
Wellness is just a click away. Go to drhoffman.com.
Welcome back to Intelligent Medicine. Dr. Ronald Hoffman here. We're going to hold calls for a while because I've got something important to talk about. We're going to talk about what I consider the premier immune enhancement product on the market. I've come to this after long investigation. And with me today, they say that great minds think alike. I'm very pleased to have discovered that one of my favorite people in integrative medicine, who's been a frequent contributor here on Intelligent Medicine, we always have great conversations. Dr. Roundtree is with me today to talk a little bit about immune enhancement with a product called Beta Glucan. It's BWH85 from BWH Labs. And he's been around the block on this. He is a medical doctor, currently in practice in Boulder, Colorado. But he's also a guy who teaches doctors. He's a longtime educator at the Institute for Functional Medicine. He's a pioneer in this field. And in fact, he teaches a course entitled Immune Functional Medicine Advanced Practice. So we're going to try and boil it down for you. We also, as a great way of conveying complex ideas to sophisticated lay people like those in our intelligent medicine audience. So without further ado, here's Dr. Rob Roundtree. Rob, it's a pleasure having you on Intelligent Medicine. Thanks so much for joining us.
Great to be back on your show yet again.
Yeah, indeed. Okay, so tell us a little bit about beta glucans. And you have a history of this. You're not a novice in this field. You've been using beta glucans products for a long time.
For decades, actually. It originally started with an interest in medicinal mushrooms. We've certainly known forever and ever that certain mushrooms like shiitake, maitake, turkey tail had immune regulating properties. And the concept has been that the main ingredient in these mushrooms responsible for their immune supportive properties is something called beta glucan. But it turns out that beta glucan has a lot of different forms. All the beta glucan refers to is the way that glucose molecules are connected to each other.
I think it's what's called a polysaccharide. It's a polysaccharide molecule, but you can find it from a variety of sources. You can start with yeast, you can start from oats, you can start from mushrooms. And so there's a kind of a profusion of products out there. So how was it that you discovered this particular product has superior characteristics?
Well, I think my first introduction was at maybe Natural Products Expo many years ago. I heard a lecture on using yeast beta-glucan in particular versus mushrooms, using it for farmed fish. And the idea was that these farmed fish were getting all kinds of epidemic diseases that were knocking out the population. And so this Norwegian researcher found that if you used an extract of yeast, Saccharomyces cerevisiae, right? The same yeast used for baker's yeast, brewer's yeast, etc., that if you purified that and put it in a fish feed, it improved their overall immune resilience, their resistance to infection. So
especially farmed fish who are confined, under kind of conditions that are not natural, and they develop diseases that ordinary free floating fish get.
Get a bacterial infection that wipes out, the whole population. And so that got me interested in a particular structure of beta-glucan called beta-1316.
Okay.
And what that refers to is the way the glucose molecules are stuck together. So we call that a polymer. Mm-hmm. Right? So we all know what glucose is by itself, but when you start stringing glucose molecules together, they begin to form these shapes. And when you string them together in a very particular way, this 1316, they actually form a three-dimensional helical structure. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that structure is like the key that fits in the lock of our immune cells.
So we often talk about immune boosters, right? And obviously that's been a concern. COVID kind of highlighted that. People were taking things to increase their resistance and strengthen their immune response. But the concern that has been aired about this is that, perhaps we don't want to strengthen our immune system too much. We don't want to boost it too much because then it can attack itself. The immune system can attack our joints and our intestines, our brain. A lot of so-called autoimmune diseases are diseases of runaway immunity. So how can we make sure that these kinds of products, while boosting our resistance to disease, infectious diseases, don't increase autoimmunity?
So we use the term immunomodulator instead of immune booster, because these things aren't really boosting the immune system. What they do is they send out a wake-up call. We used to say it was a universal alarm signal, but really it's a wake-up call. So why is that important? Because according to Polly Matzinger, the famous immunologist at NIH, who did all the research on this, most of our immune cells are in a dormant state, right? They're hanging out and they're waiting for that wake-up call to say, hey, you better pay attention.
Okay.
But paying attention is different than boosting. Telling your immune cells, macrophages in particular, telling them, hey, look around, something's up, is a really different thing than saying, hey, guys, get going. We're going to fire it up and you need to start attacking everything in sight. That is really different than sending a signal saying, be on the lookout. And, it's time to start doing your thing. So in immunology, they call that signal one. So they say you need multiple signals for your immune cells to get fully activated. And this yeast beta glucan simply says, hey, there's a stranger in the neighborhood. Pay attention.
So what's the use case for this? Because we know that, as we age, we develop what's called immunosenescence, which is actually not just lowered immunity, but sometimes heightened immunity inappropriately. It's an immune dysregulation. Older people develop autoimmune diseases, but at the same time, they're more prey to influenza and pneumonia and all that stuff. And cancer ultimately.
Yeah.
So is this just for, kind of hard cases, people with severe immune deficiencies, or is there a use case for ordinary maintenance with a product like this?
Well, I think the COVID pandemic kind of made it clear that a lot of our immune systems were under-functioning and weren't ready for anything, and the kind of classic story is indigenous tribes that hadn't been exposed to, some basic viral infection. And then, you have traders, missionaries, they show up and infect the tribe and the whole tribe is gone. So
which is how like a handful of Spanish conquistadors conquered an empire with, tens of thousands of soldiers is basically guns, germs, and steel.
Yes, I've got that book. Yeah.
Yeah. That whole story of, it's the great dying of the Native American population was mostly due not to, shooting them, but imparting some of these European diseases that they weren't ready for. So clearly that's an example of lack of immune readiness. So,
think about school teachers, right?
Indeed.
That kids are just bringing in this cesspool of infection to them. And so it's pretty typical for an elementary school teacher to get sick multiple times a year. Then they have missed days at work, et cetera. So these aren't unhealthy people. These are people that just haven't been exposed to the virus in question or the bacterial infection in question. So I think the case could be made that even younger, healthier people, not the older immunosenescent types, but the younger people as well, aren't in the state of immune readiness that we'd like to see. We could all benefit from that immune readiness.
So BWH 85 beta glucan comes in two strengths. It comes in 100 milligram strength, which is a little more economical because it's less strong than the high test version, which is 500 milligrams. Is it appropriate for people, who are just seeking a little bit of protection to take the 100, and then maybe people with specific immune problems should maybe consider a higher dose?
Yeah, I think that's the way it's positioned. Now, in the old days when I mostly recommended medicinal mushrooms for this purpose, people would have to take a lot. And, I still eat shiitake several times a week.
Sure.
I think it's a good thing. I recommend it. But you have to eat a lot of these mushrooms to get the amount of purified beta glucan you would from this particular yeast. So that's the advantage. That's actually the beauty of this particular product, is that it's so purified that you don't need much, and that more isn't necessarily better. So for a healthy person, or even a kid, who's getting a lot of infections, 100 milligrams is probably plenty. But what about me? I'm getting older, I'm getting up there in years, and I still have a clinical practice. People come in with a cough, et cetera.
I always dread those office days, when the people who are coming in sick, thank you very much.
But coughing all over you.
Yeah.
So I'm a 500 milligram kind of guy.
Okay.
Right. And then there are other people who their immune system is weakened. Let's say they had a history of taking chemotherapy, or, they're really run down. They've been in an accident. They've had surgery. They're run down. They may need 1,000.
Indeed.
Right? But most healthy people can probably do just fine with 100, 200 milligrams.
For maintenance.
Maintenance, because it's so pure and potent.
We want to do a long form with you on some of the clinical studies on this, but actually, this is actually one of the most studied compounds in shall we say, nutraceutical science. This is not a fly-by-night concept like, okay, we're going to use traditional Chinese medicine here and, we just believe in folklore. This is actually scientifically vetted. There's studies that show that this really makes a difference.
Studies that refine the dose, study that refine the specific things that we can expect to see. Probably one of the more profound studies with yeast beta-glucan is in seniors who are getting vaccinated for flu.
Oh, yeah. That's a classic thing. They want to see, does the vaccine take? Often it doesn't.
Yep, exactly. Because their immune systems are in this senescent state. So they just don't respond very well. And it's been shown if you give them beta-glucan before the vaccine, their antibody response goes way up. Pretty profound.
Yeah. And that's actually one of the classic ways to demonstrate that something or other is enhancing immune response. So, in conclusion, I got to say that, my choice these days, and I've taken beta-glucan's products, mushroom extracts, a variety of things for a long time. And I currently have switched to BWH85 beta-glucan from BWH Labs, as have you. And I think you're recommending it in your courses to physicians at the Institute for Functional Medicine. So I just want to mention for our listening audience, this is a professional grade product that's available normally only through health practitioners. But as an intelligent medicine listener, it's available to you through my FullScript dispensary. So just go to drhoffman.com/BWH for more information and to order. That's drhoffman.com/BWH. And, you're such a great communicator, Rob. There's a lot more to discuss on this front, about just a comprehensive strategy for not just boosting immunity, but regulating immunity, enhancing one's immune response, kind of Goldilocks, not too hot, not too cold, just right. That's where we want to be. And that's these products, these nutraceuticals can really help us, along with lifestyle change, appropriate diet, sleep, exercise, all these factors play a role, as well as other supplements. Of course, we can think of numerous supplements that are part of an all-of-the-above approach. But my favorite these days, BWH85 beta-glucan. Check it out, folks. I recommend it highly. And Rob, we'll do a long form on this subject soon, so we'll welcome you back to Intelligent Medicine. Thanks very much for joining us today. And so go back to enjoying your Rocky Mountain High in Boulder, Colorado, because it's a great place to be this time of year.
It is.
Thanks so much for joining us.
You betcha.
I'm Dr. Ronald Hoffman. We'll be right back with more of today's Intelligent Medicine radio program in just a few moments. Stay with us.